All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to OSU Philippines National 2025 for Mania. This is going to be another four key match, and what a match we actually have for our round of 16. It is going to be none other than our Seed 8 versus Seed 9, ManiaDegengod versus Velyria. Now, as always, joining me in the commentary booth would be Adam Ackerville, but he is just not here right now, so I will be taking cover for him. As always, I am Nightcore, and we hope you enjoyed this match because it seems like it is going to be a pretty intense match. Just looking at these players, so we can kind of just jump straight into things. I do believe players are probably going to be going through their warm-ups, or if they don't really have. Oh, okay, never mind. They are finished warm-ups, so they're going to be jumping into their roles. So about these players, looking off of the stat sheet, I can already tell this is going to be a Rice versus Ellen matchup. Um, ManiaDegengod, of course, being very prominent on LNs, as they are mostly known for. Are you kidding me? 7-27. There's no way we actually get. This is my first match commentating for PH National, and you get a 7-27 roll. There's no way. Just end the stream now. Just end the stream. Okay. Okay. So Valeria is going to win the role. And of course, as I was going through their statistics, I would not be surprised they'd be protecting one of the Rice. And yeah, they're going to be jumping into Rice 4, which is going to be the technical pick. Now, from the qualifiers, it was mostly tech and mixed Rice for what we've seen for the Rice picks. So Warm Rave is going to be protected. Not really too surprised about that protect. Now, for ManiaDegengod, again, would not be surprised they'd be jumping into one of the LNs. I would probably say LN Coordination, especially that it is more frowned upon by some of the players who might be a bit weaker on the long no picks. But actually, LN3 is also going to be protected instead of LN1, which I would not be surprised if Velyria would be going for an LN1 ban. I mean, ManiaDegengod, I would not be surprised if he'd be going for a Rice ban as well. I would most likely say Rice 5, the mixed Rice pick. As probably if Velyria is going for the protect on a technical pick, I would say Rice 5 would be more similar towards that kind of category. So anything else could still be on the table. Maybe even one of the hybrids, but just seeing the ceilings off their qualifier stats. But it's likely, but I would say a Rice ban would be more sufficient. Especially the hybrid is more kind of a risk. And Rice Free is going to be getting banned, so the pick you seen in the preview down there is going to be getting banned. So that is going to be bans and protects done and out the way. Now, just because this is round of 16, this is going to be a best of 9 situation. So whoever gets 5 points will win. And of course, since this is round of 16, there's not really too much risk yet for the players as loser's bracket is still present, and of course Velyria is going to be going for the LN1 ban. Not really too surprised. I would say vice versa. If ManiaDegengod will be protecting LN1, I will not be surprised if LN3 was banned. But that is going to be our protect ban phase out the way. So of course, as Velyria did win the role, they will be getting their first pick. And maybe they could jump straight into their protect, or if they do kind of want to start kicking stuff off, I would say something like Rice 2, or maybe I was going to say Rice 5, but Rice 1 as well. Going to be our stream pick. Again, at 1 minute, 39 seconds, this map is. Yeah, just going to have to keep on your combo. And judging off by our statistics as well, I do think. Now, we did not have a stream pick kind of present in our qualifiers. I would say Rice 2. I would say our stage 5 Rice 2 was the closest thing, being mixed rice. But that's kind of about but that is kind of a whole different category on its own. So we're just gonna wait till both players do kind of get ready. And 1 minute 41 at OD8 as well. Something you've probably seen in a couple of our casual tournaments a bit later. But again, at round of 16, we're not really at the pure accuracy. as we're kind of more showing over towards that more physical range. But for the players who have qualified, and let me tell you, it was a very daunting qualifiers. Um, I would say that all these players are pretty capable of it, one way or another. But we're just going to have to see how they do perform. Again, different factors could be affecting qualifiers. You only get 2 shots, and it is very easy to mess them up. But we'll just have to see what these players are really capable of. And here we go, just jumping straight into things. That 1 minute 39-second, I do believe, drain time. It makes it very punishing for some of those players if they do find a drop in the middle of the map. You don't really want to let off those early cracks. Though if you were to find a miss, it would be pretty early. But judging off how, when we do get into the intro, it just starts off as simple 1 to 1/2 jumps. And then we just jump straight into the Ki. We're going to have to see how both these players do compete. Again, this map is kind of simple. Just having a couple of those split thrills in between, kind of to transition off. And the natural accuracy decrease has kind of started, but Velyria definitely has capitalized it off a bit more. Holding on to that 99.85. ManiaDegengod looks like not really too comfortable with that speed. Finding a lot of those later 300s and 200s. Now, again, both full combos are still present, so a miss could still turn the tides of things. But will that be likely? Just looking at the consistency, and that is not going to be helping any favors that ManiaDegengod slips up and loses their combo, which only having 1/4 of the map left, there's not really much you can do, especially with that difference. Again, it's a very punishing map, and now that the stream is pretty much over right now, it's just both these players finding the gain on that hand stream section before we do kick off the first pick concluding. As we get one last stream area to close in, it doesn't really look like Velyria is slipping through any cracks. So it does look like Velyria is going to capitalize off their first pick, and actually getting 995 as well. Very good start already, especially from both players. Not really a easy map. Again, a 308 BPM for our, I would say, first round. Still very impressive how both these players could keep up. Velyria, of course, with that V1SS and that near 10-to-1 ratio as well. That would be 997 on V1, I do believe. Again, it's just kind of adapting to that speed. If you're not really comfortable with that speed, especially facing something like Velyria, you could be in a lot of trouble, especially when it does come to a lot of those race picks. And ManiaDegengod is going to be obliged to picking their Protect, which is going to be our LN3, jumping already into what's kind of comfy with them. So it's going to be our technical LN pick, kind of around the same drain time as well as our Rice one. As a matter of fact, most of the maps here are pretty short. The longest being our Rice 3, but that is going to be banned. That does clock in 3 minutes and 5 seconds. But I do believe a tiebreaker could be present as well, judging by how things are going to be looking. So yeah, every map is under 2 minutes, excluding our tiebreaker, Rice 3, and our Rice 5, which is still on the board, so we could potentially see that as well. But now we're just waiting for both these players to kind of get their start. The clock is ticking down. I need to get food after this, because I am kind of hungry. If you go to, I don't know. There's a Filipino restaurant in Finland, I've heard. But I don't live in Finland. I live in Ireland. But here we are, the MP has been given out, and now we are going to be jumping into ManiaDegengod's territory now, into the LN, and we will see how both these players do fare. Now, of course, Velyria small bit behind when it does come to long notes, especially near the start, dropping down to that 98, finding a lot of 200s already. But however, if you can keep on to your combo, that would be pretty beneficial, especially now that they're climbing back up. This map is very tricky for what does come in for that technical LN. Of course, you have a lot of those scattered releases and very close gaps as well. Velyria catching back up to that 99 mark, but it's not really phasing through ManiaDegengod at all. Still holding on to that 99.7. Now, this map, as we do get to the halfway point, even a combo break from ManiaDegengod can swing things around. But as we do get into the halfway point where Things will be getting a bit more chaotic in the second half, but we will just have to see. And as we do jump back into it, we're seeing a lot more of these swingy patterns. A lot more those kind of small technical LN bursts, especially kind of some of those near shields as well, on some of those long notes. Of course, being a technical pick, not really too surprising we were seeing these types of patterns, and the gaps do definitely get a lot closer as well. But I think both players are kind of keeping their cool on it, even with all those different snappings as well. A lot of those 1/4, even 1/6 plus. Definitely not the easiest to keep your accuracy on, but we jumped to round 16 for kind of a reason. And both players actually holding onto that full combo as well, but there's still that 20k point lead. But still very impressive from both players. ManiaDegengod actually nearly getting that 99.9 with that free 200s, showing into that territory as well. Velyria, not surprisingly that far off, I would say. Still holding on to that full combo, but definitely didn't have more of that MA and PA control compared. So now Velyria is just jumping straight back into Rice 2. Rice 2 is going to be the jump stream hand stream pick. So this is going to be 220 jump stream hand stream, which definitely a big kick up from what we have seen, which we haven't seen anything yet for the jump stream. Closest was mixed rice. But now we can just wait for these players to kind of get themselves a bit ready before jumping in. Again, 142. Combo is definitely key to all these picks. So they're just waiting now. Now we're just still waiting. Never mind, my mic was was my mic on mute that whole time? Oh my god. That was very unfortunate. I was just talking about how close the scores were. And very impressive performance from everyone. That unfortunate drop from ManiaDegengod at the end. Apparently it was a misread. But still, even without that misread, I do think the ratio difference was favoring Velyria near the end. And still very good performances from everyone, especially Velyria at that 997.6, showing why they see very high in the rice picks. And now LN2 is going to be picked by ManiaDegengod. So this is going to be our density pick now, which exhausts all the LN picks, but that kind of raises a small red flag because ManiaDegengod after this pick will have to be tending more into the riskier territory, having to pick some of those hybrids as well. And if a breakpoint does slip through, that could be a lot of trouble towards ManiaDegengod. As just looking off by the seedings on their hybrids, it was very similar. I do believe Hybrid 1 was seed 11, seed 10. Hybrid 2 was seed 11, seed 7. So Velyria actually did have the advantage when it was on more the tiebreaker style hybrid, which if tiebreaker is present can be advantageous towards them. But for our first hybrid, it was more kind of LN heavy as well. Which Velyria definitely does have the capabilities when it does come to some of those LNs, but maybe just not that full LN. But as we do get into our LN2 now, this is just going to be our density. So if any LN pick was on the board to capitalize off, it will most likely be more the ones that do rely on the release. So anything can still kind of happen here, as it doesn't require too much release. It doesn't really require too much release fundamentals, but it can apply when it definitely does come to chipping off some of those 200s away, which definitely did catch out Velyria near the start. I do believe finding one or two 200s near the intro, but it's not really going to be phasing them a lot as the score does continue to increase a small bit. But again, this is only the start, kind of showing you an appetizer for what is to come. A lot of those simple snapped LNs accompanied by some of those scattered releases as well. But again, I'm up at 152. Even a single drop could spell doom. And let's just hope none of the players do misread this, as finding a drop in an LN density map can be detrimental. So just kind of jumping straight back into it, kind of showing off a bit more of those longer LNs with that jump stream aspect intact as well. Some of those trills as well, that split frill did not really phase out anyone. And ManiaDegengod unfortunately finds that combo break. This could be spelling danger all over the board, especially if Velyria does kind of keep on to their combo, especially having the accuracy advantage right now. But he's traded back, and that was a very nasty drop as well, going down to 99.31. It is all in ManiaDegengod's hands now if they do want to keep on and snag that point back. But getting onto that outro, it doesn't really look like things are changing. With stuff kind of cooling down, it looks like ManiaDegengod is going to be taking that money and running away. The sheer density of that map as well. Holding on to that at 196 BPM near inverse. That is still very good from both players. But again, it was kind of more of those combo breaks that just butchered some of the scores. 250 from ManiaDegengod, 350s from Velyria, including one miss as well. Even probably, maybe if the misses did not occur, or maybe even one of the 100s as well, Velyria could have snagged that breakpoint, and things definitely could have taken a turn for the worse for ManiaDegengod. But now Velyria is going to be jumping into their protect, which is going to be Rice 4 Wormrave. Pretty known map as well. So this is going to be the technical pick, which again, just judging off by Velyria's stats in our qualifiers, would not really be too surprised to see why they did protect us. And this is definitely a pretty known map. in kind of just a scene in general. And here we go into the tech. Now, of course, this is technical as a technical map can be. Mini jacks, flams, technical bursts, dump. You pretty much got the whole thing in store. Many a DJ and God finding a few 200s on one of those bursts, but again, can catch up. But I'd say can catch up a small bit. Even after that miss, it was still very early. But if Velyria can hold on to that full combo, um, things could be looking up for Velyria. And I don't know if many DJ God is actually that comfortable with the map. Finding a couple of drops here and there, we'll have to be playing a lot of that catch up, especially being 25,000 points behind. And after that was just the first bit. As we do kind of get back into things, one of those 160 BPM mini jacks, and just mini DJ God, just not really being too comfortable with it. Accompanied by a lot of those technical bursts and some of those jump jacks as well. Definitely, Velyria just eating those up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Many DJ God still, while on holding on to that 99.7, it isn't really going to be definitely a bit far behind on the racetrack compared to what we have seen with Velyria. Not really too comfortable getting back up to that 400 combo count and being 76,000 point difference away. Something detrimental is going to have to be happening to Velyria if they do end up, um, if many DJ God is going to be finding the point later. But as we just get through our outro, there isn't really going to be any other time to be gaining, which is going to be giving Velyria their third point. 80,000 point difference and a 990 as well from Velyria. Very impressive performance. And yeah, many Django not really being a bit too comfortable with some of those technical maps and technical patterns. Of course, this is a very awkward pick. Actually, having more misses and 100s combined compared to greats, it's definitely a very awkward map if you were to ask. And actually, now I am going to be joined by um, another co-caster. Everyone, please welcome Silvaska Els.
Hello there, everyone. So yeah, that is me indeed. Valeria seemed to have gotten some judgments that weren't like normally something he'd get, but it doesn't really matter as he won the match. So I'm assuming this became a Rice versus Ellen battle or hybrid even, because that's kind of the trend right now. I mean, it's kind of funny because last year I think Valeria was in the same spot where it was a Rice versus Ellen battle on some of these, which is valid because Valeria is really more of a Rice player. ManiaDegengod can do everything, but uh, the peak of Valeria's Rise is just a lot higher than ManiaDegengod's Rise. So I can see why it became a Rise versus Ellen battle.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, especially when you are playing for competition. It's most importantly to capitalize off your strengths pretty much. And Hybrid 2 is going to be getting thrown in. And as you did say, many DJ God being more the well balanced player, and Valeria being that as well, but having that greater Rice capabilities. Um, and now we're jumping into Hybrid, where it's just going to be a mix of pretty much everything. Now, this is going to be Hybrid 2. So, Hybrid 2 is going to be our Jack Heavy Hybrid, actually. So, going to be very interesting to see how things do turn out.
Okay, well, these are the kind of patterns Valeria sort of isn't exactly going to be the best at for a bit. I'm seeing these Ellens. Like, these are the Ellens that I assume ManiaDegengod would have an advantage on. But looks like Velyria is actually getting the advantage. In fact, that miss, okay, both of them traded, but the accuracy is clearly on Velyria's side, which to me is very shocking. I'd expect ManiaDegengod to have the physicality to keep up with this chart, but looks like Velyria has a minor advantage. Those LNs have made Velyria drop, but it does not matter. Okay.
Yeah, so
Mm.
as after the intro, we're kind of jumping into where more the density does shine. But again, at a drain time of 1 minute 35 seconds, many of Dijon God is actually climbing up their accuracy back up respectively to that 99.5 range. But it all comes down to our final KI, which is gonna be all hell breaks loose pretty much. But many of Dijon
I
God
mean,
finding a draw.
that's really bad. I'm sure Valeria holding combo. this long is actually crazy. That accuracy is actually very strong as well. Valeria is really benefiting from the physicality aspect as ManiaDegengod finds another drop. That would be 19,000 points of a difference. Wow, this is really surprising. Velyria just wins on a hybrid pick against a very seasoned hybrid player. Actually, ratio-wise, ManiaDegengod God wins, but the Rise aspect was way too much for the Jin God to keep up. Now Velyria is on the brink of having a match point by stealing a break point from ManiaDegengod. That's crazy.
This is kind of what I was saying a bit earlier. Now that ManiaDegengod has exhausted all the LM picks, and judging off by the performance in the hybrids, it would definitely, um, it definitely would have been a bit, um, it definitely would have gave Velyria that small advantage as well. But now the control is in Valeria's hands, going into Rice 5, the mixed Rice pick. Now, Velyria does have to kind of focus in enough. Well, both players do have to kind of focus in a bit more, as of course this is the match point, so this could be the deciding factor of who will be punching their way into the winners bracket and who will be dropping down below.
Well, it's not really. It could be deciding the deciding factor. It is the deciding factor of how long this match is really gonna last. And I have a bad feeling about this pick because if Vayne the God doesn't keep their composure, this is definitely going to be a very bad sign.
I would, yeah, that is pretty much true, and especially kind of on a mixed rice pick like this. I would say more similarly, this could be kind of compared to maybe a bit on Rice 4, kind of following some of that technical, maybe with the mixed rice. And as we have seen from Rice 1 and Rice 4, many Django was a bit behind on when it does come to more those complexer patterns. So unfortunately, things could follow on a pick like this, but the format is structured a lot differently compared to both of them. But but time will tell to see how they will perform.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting decision to go with this from Valeria, but I 100% agree with that. With what you said. The only the only thing I'm really concerned about is okay, it's a pretty long chart. I mean, there's one. Number two, can May and the Gen God keep up with this? Because Valeria's physicality is 100% more than enough to be able to. But considering all the misses that May and the Gen God dropped on the hybrid alone, I have a feeling something could really be disadvantageous to the Gen God here in this pick. I can't tell where, but I have a feeling that once we're past the halfway mark, it's really going to be scary.
And here we go, jumping into our Kiai, getting a lot of those flams accompanied by some of those jumps as well. Both are still holding on pretty well, but this is only pretty much the start of it. Sense of impending doom could potentially come onto one of the players if a drop or even a couple of misjudgments would occur. And Valeria definitely holding on more to these patterns, still on at 99.91. But many a DJ God still holding on to that consistency very well. Again, the patterns in this map are pretty straightforward for what we have seen at the start, but things will take a turn for the stronger when we do get into it. Getting a lot more of those accompany mini jacks as well. At 130 BPM, this is kind of a lighter BPM compared to what we have seen with the technical pick, but anything can still happen. Especially now that when we jump in, it's more continuous, and many a DJ God is finding some of those 200s as well, dropping down to that 99.59.
Wow, Valeria, meanwhile at 99.85, and Mason got that drop. That miss could be the end of their run in the winner's bracket, but definitely not in this entire tournament. However, this is really concerning. Valeria's just increasing that accuracy. The consistency is not in Mason God's favor. I think that does it. Like Mason God exhausted all their resources to be able to keep up with the stamina, and look at how they're ending this chart. That's clearly just a sign of fatigue kicking in.
And yeah, it does kind of occur when you do get into later the picks like that. V1 double S stroke as well from Valeria, having that 1/100. and that will be the deciding factor that gets Valeria getting their way into the winners bracket quarterfinals. Well played to both players. You all played very well. But of course, in a tournament, there can only be one person getting through. But for ManiaDegengod, of course, it is not over. As next week they will be playing in the quarterfinals. I do believe conditionals as well. I'm not too sure about that.
Wait lang. Yeah, I'm not sure who Villera is gonna be facing. Let's just take a look at the bracket after this. So we're gonna display the winner. It's going to be Velyria. Actually, technically, this constitutes as a seed upset, just because it's seed number 9 winning against seed number 8. Although again, the seed difference is very small, so it's not like it was really that big of an upset. Still, though, very good job to both players, as you said. Definitely, there could have been some stuff that could have been better picked. I think Hybrid 3, unless that was banned, could have been a better choice, or maybe even Hybrid 1. But then again, there's not much we can do. Valeria is going to take this and go to the next round of the winners bracket. And as for me, Gen God, their run's definitely not over. So there we go. Oh wait, let's look at that. That's Levet versus Valeria. Oh, that's gonna be a really difficult. That's gonna be a really fun matchup. And at the bottom we have Boji versus Sen. And let's take a look. It's going to be Sakuragi versus Mania the Gen God at the bottom. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna be a really hard matchup for Sakuragi, but those two people are very adept to many different kinds of charts, so I won't be surprised if they'll be able to keep up. I think that ends all the matches for this. Can we take a look at the schedule real quick?
You would be correct
Yeah,
in saying.
well, the next 4K match is going to be 20 hours from now, but I believe the 7 key matches have there's like a 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. match tomorrow at 7K. I forgot. But there's definitely a match early on for 7 key. So stay tuned for those. Do you have anything else? Actually, wait, I have nothing else to say. So, Nightcore, you could end this for us.
You pretty much taken all the words out my mouth. That's all I can pretty much say. So I guess that will be it for our Saturday matches. So again, we just have tomorrow. Again, as you said, the 4 key match. Definitely going to be an interesting one. Unitori versus J1002. For 7 key, we do have Cerealia versus Dota 2 Invoker for our 1 p.m. match. So stay tuned for both of those, and I guess we can close off. Once again, thank you, Els, for co-commentating with me. Um, and we can just sign out from now. I've been Nightcore, and just like that, take care.